Now, a multi-award-winning singer-songwriter and one of the most respected voices in folk music, Steve Knightley is bringing his solo tour to Killaloe this evening for a special fundraising concert at St. Flannan's Cathedral. Best known as co-founder of Show of Hands, his music celebrated for storytelling, sense of place and deep connection with audiences. And Steve joins me in studio along with Dean Richard Marsh. You're both very welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Well, was that introduction okay, Steve?
You could have said more, but you know, that was good. You could have described my long hair and good looks and rugged presence, but you know, you can't have everything.
Well, God, it is, you do have good looks and a rugged presence. You know, you're doing well to have the long hair. I had to get rid of mine years ago.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
And you're going to be playing in Killaloe, and we might chat to you as well a bit about that, Richard, in just a moment. But I wonder, have you played much or at all this side of Ireland? Or
well, I did one tour 18 months ago. I was up Sligo, I was in Northern Ireland, and I went down to Clonmel. And it was well received. People like the stories here as much as the music. But I've got connections. My wife's cousin is Andy Irvine. He's obviously a legend on the folk scene.
Never heard of him.
And she didn't even know he was a folkie when we first met. And she said, I think I've got a second cousin. And I said, you're talking about a legend there. And then they met at the festival about 20 years ago, and there was a very similar family likeness. So it's obviously in the genes somewhere.
Yeah, and you do have Irish connections through grandparents as well.
Grandmother, yeah, both grandmothers were from the north, and again, these are all things we discovered during lockdown, like everybody was getting into family history. So yeah, there's something in the blood, I hope.
So where does your love for traditional folk music come from? Is it partly through familial connections to here, but also where you grew up in England as well, and there's very much a folk tradition there, or what fed into that?
There's not a live tradition in England in the sense that you hear. I mean, I was at a couple of pubs in Killaloe last night. There was some dancing going on. There was a session going on. You don't really get that in England in the same way. But when I was a teenager, folk music was very cool. And the audience was in their early 20s. It was in universities and everywhere. So if you were a young guy wanting to play and make connection, stay up late, meet girls, do the usual stuff, the folk scene was it. So I learnt traditional music, but then I used that as a basis for writing. So mainly I'm a writer, but I use that sense of writing about working people, working about the land, talking about the land and the sea. And it's not as common in England as it is in other parts, particularly in the Celtic fringe,
It mightn't be as common in England, but you've forged quite the reputation in your home country, both solo and obviously with Phil as part of Show of Hands. Yeah. It's a remarkably long career, but also remarkably prolific. I mean, even aside from solo albums, the amount of albums you and Phil put out together as Show of Hands, it feels like you're writing songs every day.
Well, the thing is, English musicians are magpies. We have to borrow from everywhere. So we're immersed in Irish and Scottish music. We're immersed in the blues. We're immersed in reggae. We're immersed in all these things. And I think English musicians, it's the same in our food and in our literature and our music. At their best, as long as you acknowledge your sources, I mean, look at the Rolling Stones. What did they know about the South blues, But they needed, it fulfills something, I think, in the English soul that's missing, because we don't have community-based music in the same way.
But I suppose that they're a fine example, because whilst they weren't from, steeped in the Delta blues in Chicago, they put their own stamp on it, or they were convincing in how they performed those covers of Howlin' Wolf or whoever it might be. Is it similar for yourself in that there's a serious level of authenticity to what you do and the stories that you tell?
Yeah, but we're trying to I'm trying as a writer, trying to re-establish an English canon of songs. Because I say, I've done so much work in pubs when I was younger, and only once did I hear authentic folk music being sung by some local farmers in Dorset without any sense of they were singing folk music. They were just singing family songs, really. So I've written a couple now that hopefully can feed into that repertoire, so that when we get together we can all sing, because we do envy our Scottish and Irish cousins, because, if there's a singing competition between the English football and Irish football fans, you can tell who's going to win.
Except the tournaments, because we're not there.
Yeah, I'm a big rugby man, so to hear the fields of Athenry is just something else. I just love all that.
I have to ask you as well about the kind of your approach to your career, being a very, self-contained cottage industry.
Yeah.
I don't know, was that a necessity at the time, releasing your own albums and so on?
Well, the thing is...
but it seems very prescient now with the way the internet changed things, and major labels aren't as important as they used to be.
You look back on your career and you try and see there was a pattern there, but basically you're trying to survive. If there's no agency interested, if there's no record company industry interested, you have to do it yourself. So a lot of the time it was just a question of survival. And
is that indicative of, as you say, that maybe there just wasn't as much respect paid to English folk music or that kind of tradition at that time when you went down that road?
It doesn't generate enough money to interest people at that level, really. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I can think of 2 songs from the English songwriting tradition that have become mainstream. And that's Streets of London, and that's First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. And apart from, and obviously Ewan McCall was English born, but with Scottish roots, but I can't think of any other songs that have come out of the English folk scene. So that's not a career path, in terms of writing. So it doesn't attract mainstream publishing and mainstream record company industry. So we did it ourselves, and we became a role model. We didn't only work for percentages, not for fees.
But does that give you a certain, not even, I don't know, a triumph over adversity, but a certain level of satisfaction that you made it work and then some?
And resilience.
You made a very, very good career out of it.
Yeah, post-COVID it's tougher because costs have gone crazy. No one's buying CDs and the audiences were down 30%. So that's why I'm trying to do more solo work. But, it's been a great ride, really.
Richard, you must be very pleased. This is quite the coup to get a man who's, he's used to playing the hallowed halls of the Royal Albert Hall and, songwriter of the 90s, as voted by Tom Robinson, a previous guest on this show. How did you pull it off?
Well, I've known Steve for must be over 20 years. I used to do some promoting on the side, and he came when I was in Canterbury Cathedral. He came to a venue we had there, and we've kept in touch over the years. And I've when I came to Killaloe, which is 2.5 years ago, to St Flannan's Cathedral, I knew that I wanted my old friend to come and play in our 800-year-old cathedral, and it's finally happened. We're here and really looking forward to the gig tonight. Hope lots of people turn up. That would be great. There will be tickets available on the door or via eventbrite.ie. But to hear music in that historic setting, it's very special.
It really is. And Steve, I have seen shows there before, and just the setting, but also the acoustically, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, indeed. But Richard's not saying these are his instruments I'm playing, because I didn't fly with them, and he plays himself, you see. So this
badly,
is
very bad.
Yeah, but
that was part of the deal, was it? Yeah. I get to perform with you if you come.
No. The deal was definitely that I don't get to.
Okay.
So you're reluctantly performing?
No, I'll introduce him tonight.
Okay. Well, we're going to get a song from you in just a moment. You obviously, the show, I presume, will be bits and pieces from across your career, as well as with the Winter Yards, your most recent solo album.
Well, one good thing about not being so well known is I can do songs that I've played a lot in England, and not people that are tired of them, but they've heard a lot. But it's a fresh thing for an audience here, so that refreshes the way I think about them and play them as well. Before
you perform, I do have to ask you about a musician who I adore, who you have a connection with. Can you tell me a little bit about giving guitar lessons to PJ Harvey?
Oh, Polly. Well,
yeah. How much credit can we give you for Dry and Rid of Me and To Bring You My Love, all those phenomenal albums?
Okay, wow. I was on the pub rock scene in London till I was 32, and I moved back to Dorset, where I'm from, West Country. Polly lived down the road with her dad, with Ray and Eva, and one day this young tousle-haired teenager came with her mother, and you give guitar lessons, said Eva, and I said, well, I do. And she said, well, I want you to teach Polly some chords. And the deal was 12 lessons in exchange for topsoil and hamstone.
This is like one of those, back in the 80s, like Tony Cascarino joined Millwall for a set of jerseys and a washing machine or something.
So I gave Polly, I taught her some big folky chords. I can give her credit for that, and some finger picking. But by the age of 18 or 19, I'd moved to a different part of Dorset. And then I went back to the local pub where I played cricket, and all the boys were saying, we went to see Polly the other day. Bloody hell, she's a beast. And from this little girl came this scream of rage and anxiety. And so, I see her occasionally back in West Dorset. So I taught her a bit of folky stuff, but she wasn't going to go down that route.
Well, look, whatever little bit she took of it going forward, it worked out well, and I suspect she learned from the best, Steve. And give our listeners a fine example.
Her
of that.
first gig was with me at the Village Fete. She played saxophone. She did Take 5. Dave
Brubeck. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Well, there's no saxophones in studio, but we do have other instruments, and Steve and Richard are going to play them now. So, what song are you going to perform?
Just me.
Just you.
I'll sing my keynote song, Country Life. Okay. I got called the gravel voice spokesman of the rural poor for singing this one. And Tom Heap, the BBC farming correspondent, said it said more in 3 minutes than he could do in a 45-minute documentary. It's all about a young guy can't afford to live in his own village. It sounds familiar.
Perfect stuff. Take it away, Steve Knightley.
Working in the rain and cutting up wood. Well, it didn't do my little brother much good. He lost 2 fingers in a chainsaw bite, and all he does now is drink and fight. He sells a bit of grass and he huts up cars. He talks of travel but never gets far. Loves his kids but left his wife. It's an everyday story of country life. And the red brick cottage where I was born is the empty shell of a holiday home. Most of the year there's no one there. This village is dead but they don't care. Now we live on the edge of town. Haven't been back since the pub closed down. One man's family pays the price for another man's vision of country life. I'm singing. He's 84, his generation won the war, but he left his farm forever when they only kept on but 1 in 10. Landed gentry, county snobs, where were you when they lost their jobs? No one marched or subsidized to save this country way of life. Silent fields and empty lanes, drifting smoke from distant flames. Picture postcard, look at the hills on fire. I saw cattle burning in funeral pyres. Out to graze, they look so sweet. We hate the blood, but we love the meat. So buy me a beer and I'll take my knife, cut you a slice of country life. I'm singing, whoa. But if you want cheap food, then here's the deal. It's family farms that are brought to heel by a hammer blow of size and scale. Foot and mouth was another nail in the coffin of this English dream. It lies out there on the village green, where angry barons, cap in hand, will strip a green and pleasant land of meadow, woodland, hedgerow, pond, of what remains they build upon. No trains, no shops, no pubs. How many pubs last night empty? We saw Killaloe. Country life, country life. Long gone, the red lion, the tiger's head, the oats, the 8 boughs, the bird in hand, the half moon. Long gone, something wrong, something going wrong in the country. It's country life, country life. It's a little bit country life.
Wonderful stuff. Steve Knightley, thank you very much. That was great. And if you like that, and really, why wouldn't you get along to St. Flannan's Cathedral this evening in Killaloe, where Steve's going to be performing. Tickets on Eventbrite or on the door. Steve, I hope you enjoyed the show and you're going to get a great reception and the rest of your time here. And thanks as well to Dean Richard Marsh for coming in as well. Steve, real pleasure having you, and thanks very much. Steve Knightley with us on Morning Focus.